Hey guys, Brit team, how you doing? Esmond, thank you for that warm intro. That was awesome. Okay, these movers and shakers are tough act to follow, but we'll do our best. And we're Kavin and Mistry, second generation in the business, personally sponsored by my parents, Emerald's Going Diamond, Dalpatan Suda Mistry, mentored by Diamonds, Kulin and Minat Desai, and under the leadership of Kanti and Lata Gala. I'm a physician here in New Jersey at one of the largest healthcare networks. And essentially what that means is that we have seen the most number of COVID cases outside of New York. In fact, we just treated and discharged over 5,000 patients. All right. And so essentially in these past couple of months, walking into the hospital has been like walking into the eye of the storm every day. And it's been quite an experience. We're learning a lot through that experience, and I'll share some of that with you. Beyond that, I'm an assistant professor at a medical school and also serve as an executive coach in the corporate sector. This particular presentation that I'm about to share with you has resonated really well in the corporate world as well as with our team. And so Kanti and the leadership felt that we can bring this content to you. And so here we go. And so let's roll. Good. So supporting immunity. Before we get rolling, I just want to give a shout out to all the people that are on this webinar that are in healthcare, whether you're a nurse or therapist or physical therapist. Thank you for everything you do. Without you guys, none of these hospitals would work. None of us doctors would be able to do what we do. So thank you. And you guys are the real heroes. And let's keep up the good work. Next. So I'd love to start with this quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson. He says, "A great challenge of life is knowing enough to think you're right, but not knowing enough to know you're wrong." And as this pandemic evolves, it's important to keep in mind that we don't want to box ourselves and say, this is true, this is not true, because we're learning each day. And so a lot of what we talk about today may not apply next month or next year. So keep that in mind. But this is the best information we have up to this point in time. Next. So, I'm in the imaging field, so it would be a shame not to share with you something from the imaging world. So here's a CAT scan of a normal patient at the level of the heart. In the middle, you can see the heart. The dark areas are the lungs where the gas exchange takes place, and the strandy areas are the blood vessels. Next. And this is a scan from a infected patient, okay? So a lot of you have heard about this disease, but have not seen it, what it looks like, but this is what happens, okay? And as you can see, the dark areas where the gas exchange takes place now is overtaken by these patchy areas where the infiltrate is. And as you can imagine, these are the patients now that have very little healthy lung for gas exchange. And these are the patients that wind up dying, even on a ventilator. They don't have enough lung to survive. And you can imagine if this patient began with like asthma or COPD, they would have very little reserve to survive. And so that's what we are seeing, that high mortality in these asthmatics and COPDers. Next. So one of the questions I get asked is, if I test positive, with the nasal swab, what are my options? Okay, we used to think the malaria drugs like the chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine with the antibiotics was a good option. However, we're finding that it has a lot of cardiac effects, EKG changes. So most people are moving away from that. In fact, our hospital is moving away from that. The next line of therapy is convalescent plasma, where we take blood from a recovered patient, remove the red blood cells, take the plasma, which has the antibodies, and give it to patients, and it helps with recovery. The third line is antiviral, specifically a drug called remdesivir from Gilead Sciences, which helps with recovery. So these are some of your treatment options. Next. In terms of transition, a question I guess asked is, if I test positive, when can I return back to work? What's the game plan? So one thing is that you have to wait 14 days. Absolutely, you should have no symptoms, particularly no cough. You should be fever-free for at least 3 days without taking anything. And as a follow-up, particularly for our hospital, you should have 2 negative PCR tests, that's the nasal swabs, before you can return back to work. Now, this brings us to the idea of shedding, is that even when people recover, okay, they're still shedding the virus. So essentially, when all of you guys go back to work and you're transitioning out, you essentially have to assume everyone is positive because they could be asymptomatic carriers. And that's why that's the significance of this talk, is that we want to make sure that people are covered and have immunity, so that when you come across people, you may not know that they're shedding, but you want to have an immunity that can handle that. Next slide. So let's start off by looking at who has a high level of immunity. Who are the super immunity people, okay? I'm going to share a couple of books with you. This is just for reference. I'm not specifically promoting these books, but this is a book called Altered Traits by Daniel Goleman and Richard Davidson, where they studied meditation, how it affects the mind and body. And what they found is are these monks from Tibet, okay, that meditated, had this unbelievable or super immunity. And so they asked themselves, like, what is it that these monks are doing that is causing this level of high immunity, okay? And would you guys like to know? Yeah? So next. So what they found, the common thread amongst all these people was that they had cultivated a high level of compassion, okay? And all of you are thinking, okay, Kavin, you're talking about immunity and now you're talking about compassion, you know, what's the deal here, you know? Well, the interesting thing is, okay, how many of you are parents, right? Your parents, remember when you're a little kid, when first time he went up on stage and first mentioned your name, you know, like, oh, you know, I'd like to thank my parents, you know, for raising me and all that. And you're sitting in the crowd, you and your wife are crying, and your heart is leaping out of your chest almost, and you get the sensation in your chest area, and you're thinking, man, I could do anything for this child, right? And that's compassion, and you can see that, you can feel that in that chest area. And what that does is that level of compassion activates the heart plexus, and there is a gland that sits right above the heart called the thymus. So when that is activated, you activate the thymus. The thymus secretes more thymosin, which in turn helps with the T cell production, which comprises the basis of your immunity. So nature is so beautiful. It's saying that if you're willing to take your eyes off of yourself and put your eyes on others, you will be blessed with abundant immunity, okay? So the takeaway point here is this, that our best defense going into this pandemic or going through this pandemic is our compassion, level of compassion, and our mind and our mindset. Next. So we're going to approach this from three sides. One, we're going to approach immunity by minimizing toxins, maximizing recuperation, and supporting our immunity via supplements. Next. So let's talk about minimizing toxins, air, okay? Now, all of us are indoors now, and it's important to note that the indoor air pollution is a lot worse than outdoor air pollution, okay? And in fact, if your body is busy fighting all the antigens and toxins indoors, it will not have enough reserve to fight any infections outside. So what can you do? Well, when the weather is good, you open up all the windows, make sure you air out your house. What else can you do? You make sure you replace all your HVAC filters and everything like that. Make sure there's no mold in the house, because if your body's busy fighting mold, it won't have enough capacity to fight infection or anything like that. If you're affording, I would say get a good quality HEPA filter, get our atmosphere filter, put it in the room of your house where you spend your most time. Some of you, it may be the office. Some of you, if you're sleeping a lot, hey, maybe the bedroom, whatever it is, all right? Put the atmosphere there so you minimize the amount of toxins you have in the house. Next. Next is water. You know, I pass by Costco and, Target all the time, and I see people putting crates and crates of this bottled water in their car. And you know that these bottles have been sitting out in the sun. You know that the plastic toxins have dissolved into the water. Now you're introducing this plastic toxins into your body by drinking this water, and now your body is busy fighting these plastic toxins. It doesn't have enough reserve to fight anything else. Okay, so it's absolutely key. If you guys do not have the eSpring, it's absolutely key that in this day and age you buy the eSpring, so that hey, your body is 70% water. You want to make sure that 70% is pure and toxin-free. This eSpring uses the UV filtration system, which is what we use in the hospitals to sanitize. So absolutely key that you have a nice water treatment system in your house. Next. So this goes without saying. I'm not going to even spend more time. Smoking and alcohol, they're major toxins. If you practice that, it's going to wipe out your immune system. And I'm not even going to spend more time on that. Brick team, you guys know better than that. Okay, next. This last piece is very important. Okay, we talk about stress. Okay, now all stress is not bad. Like you have a test tomorrow, the stress is good. Today it will make you study, make you focus. But when you have this chronic level of stress, I see people, they have the CNN on all the time. They have the CDC tracker on all the time. This chronic level of stress, it will wipe out your immunity, okay? Because one of the things that happens is stress increases your stress hormone called cortisol, which comes from these adrenal glands that sit on top of your kidneys. And when your body cannot cope up with that or cope with that level of stress, chronic stress all the time, you can run the risk of going into what we call as adrenal fatigue. Next. And adrenal fatigue is that when your body cannot manage this chronic stress and you run into issues where you're tired, you have sleep issues, you fall asleep, you wake up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you crave salt and sugar, you want to take caffeine all the time, and you have digestive problems. So if you're getting all these funny symptoms, check. Maybe you need to shut off all the notifications on your phone, okay? Next. So let's get into this recuperation bit. I'm going to talk about sunlight. I know a lot of you are rolling your eye going, yeah, Kavin, sunlight, we know good in the sun, vitamin D, all that. No, just hear me out. Okay, in fact, a lot of you, the way you're going outside, you don't have enough skin exposure. You have like your hand, a little bit of your hands, legs. You don't even have your face exposed. You got this big mask on now, right? So you don't have enough skin exposure. I mean, if you wanted to do it, you could put on a mask and go out naked. That would work, okay? It would be, hey, why not? If it's just you and your wife, go for it, man. None of the neighbors are going to come close to you to complain about it, all right? But anyway, being facetious here, if that's not an option, all right, it's important to take a vitamin D supplement. Why? Because 50% of the U.S. population is vitamin D deficient. Why is that important? Well, vitamin D turns on over 200 genes, and a lot of those genes play a role in immunity, okay? And so it's very important to keep your vitamin D levels normal or above normal, okay? And it's interesting that our vitamin D supplement is stellar in a sense that we had a lot of people on our team who were vitamin D deficient, even with taking a supplement, okay? They had low levels. And once they started taking our supplement, their numbers spiked up. And why? Because our vitamin D supplement not only has vitamin D, but has K2 in it, which augments its effect, okay? Now, some people say, I take double X. Well, double X only has 400 IUs of vitamin D. You need 4,000 a day, okay? So you need 10 times more. So double X does not cut it, okay? Next. Now, sleep, okay? I can see a lot of you rolling your eyes already. It's at Kavin, yes. 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Sleep is good for you. Nope. Just hear me out, okay? Here's the big idea, okay? Between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. is your recuperation zone, okay? That's when your detox, your antibody formation is taking place, okay? Now, a lot of us catch a bit of it every night, but we don't catch a lot of it every night, okay? And I know that time is not optimal, okay? We got Zoom calls, we're building a business and everything like that. I'm not saying go to sleep at that time every day, but maybe once a week, twice a month, try to catch that full 10 to 2 a.m. zone. If you do, okay, one of the fantastic things that will happen, okay, is that one day you'll go to sleep around that time, okay? I suggest set an appointment with yourself, so you go to sleep by 9:30 and get to bed by, fall asleep by 10 and catch the 10 to 2. One of the most miraculous things that will happen is one day you'll go to sleep at 10 and you'll wake up naturally at 3:30, 4 o'clock, fully rested, fully awake, just ready to go, fully recuperated. And it's just an unbelievable feeling to be fully recovered. And I challenge you to experience that at least a couple of times a month, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Next. So 90% of your immunity lives in your gut, okay? So apart from being regular, it's very important that you support your gut flora, okay? We have the best probiotics in the business, and you guys all should be taking it during this time because this is 90%. You're addressing 90% of your immunity by these probiotics. So absolutely key to get that in. Next. And the last bit is breathing exercises, okay? The blood in our body is circulated by the heart, okay? We have a pump for that. But the lymphatics, which play a role in detox and immunity, it does not have a pump. You're the pump. In fact, your muscles are the pump. So absolutely key that you exercise every day, not for just, looking good and losing weight, but to move this lymphatics around so you can detox yourself. Okay, those of you who are into yoga, there's a form of yogic breathing called Kapalbhati. Okay, phenomenal. If you do this, it will substantially improve your lymphatic flow in your chest area, which is important during this time with this type of illness. Okay, and you can YouTube that, find out how to do it and all that. Okay, next. So as we get into the supplement portion of the talk here, okay, it's important to note why Neutralite, all right? And three key points. One is that Neutralite is one of the few supplements that has a NSF certification. So what that means is whatever they say is on the bottle is what's actually inside. Important, very, very important, okay? And in fact, Neutralite was one of the only companies that was allowed to operate during this pandemic in China and India because they were producing such high quality products. Okay, number two is they have their own certified organic farms. And number three is they have quality control from seed to supplement, which very few companies do. Okay, so this puts Neutralite in a totally different league. You can't compare it to other companies. And as a disclaimer, I'd like to note that, none of these products that we're going to talk about are intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And you should not be saying that to any of your clients or IBOs as well. Okay, next. Next slide. So magnesium and zinc are absolutely key for immunity. In fact, bodybuilders take a supplement called ZMA, which is zinc, magnesium, and B6 to recuperate quickly between workouts. Well, what can you do? Next. Well, you can use our CalMag-D supplement, which is calcium, magnesium, D, and has zinc in it to help you recuperate your immune system, okay? And it's a fantastic product, and you can use it before going to sleep. It will, in fact, help you go to sleep better as well. Next. Now, talking about herbals, echinacea is a phenomenal herb, okay? Different parts of the echinacea impact different parts of immunity, okay? So that's what we call as a full spectrum echinacea. Now, the way echinacea is used is you use it as a 2 to 3 week type of a usage, okay? It's not meant to be taken all the time, all right? And so a lot of people, the way they use it is they take it a little bit before a trip, during the trip, and after the trip to protect themselves. Well, in this period, right, as you guys are going to transition out into the workforce, okay, you want to start with echinacea a little bit before as you go out there and you're coming in contact with people, and then continue. Now, if you want to take echinacea again, wait a week or two and then start again, and then you can cycle through that. A vitamin that goes along really well with echinacea is vitamin C. Vitamin C used to be very popular. However, when people figured out that when they took 1,000 milligrams or 1,500 milligrams of vitamin C, all they did was produce expensive urine because it's a water-soluble vitamin. It just leaves your body, all right? Well, recently, we have this extended release technology that Neutralite came out with, okay, and so other companies are using it too, that now you can take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and it will release that over the course of 6 to 8 hours and give you immune support throughout the day. Next. So you want to take benefit of this, you take the immunity pack, which has the broad spectrum echinacea and has the extended release vitamin C in a convenient pack. You can carry that with you. Awesome product. Next. So turmeric, absolutely key for immunity. Okay, turmeric has this ingredient called curcumin, which is a very, very powerful immunomodulatory agent. Okay, a lot of research done about this. Those of you who are Asian Indian background, you grew up drinking turmeric milk, and hey, you want to make a home concoction, take a little bit of turmeric, put some black pepper, which kind of augments its effect, put honey in it, and there you go, home concoction, right? But if you're lazy like me, next, what you can do is take double X. Why? Because double X actually has turmeric in there, okay, and gives you the benefit of curcumin in there, okay? So apart from everything else double X does, you have the benefits of turmeric in there. Next. So a lot of this, the research that I'm talking about comes from this book. It says How Not to Die by Dr. Michael McGregor. Next. So let's wrap up this piece by talking about quercetin. Okay. Now, when this virus is, again, the current virus is not the first virus. We had the SARS epidemic and things like that. What we found out that these viruses bind to the human cell at a particular place or receptor, and it's called the ACE2 receptor. Now, why am I saying all this? Well, what people thought was, well, we know where the virus now binds. Can we block that site and prevent this virus from getting in? So they said, you know what, let's use artificial intelligence, let's use these IBM modeling studies and see what comes out. So they gave this problem to these computers and say, hey, figure out something that can block this receptor. Well, it then gave out all these compounds that could potentially work. Well, one of the things that came out of this, okay, one of the things that came out of this research was this compound called quercetin, okay? But quercetin is not a drug. It's actually a bioflavonoid. What that means is this is found in berries, fruits, and vegetables. Okay. In fact, quercetin is in the skin of the apple. You know, they say apple a day keeps a doctor away. Well, that's probably more truth to it than not these days. Okay. The only thing is you would have to eat like 10, 12 apples to get enough quercetin to have a clinical effect. Next. So there's a lot of research about this going on in the field. Okay, you can see this. One of these papers talks about quercetin, effects on inflammation, immunity, how it has anti-carcinogenic, anti-inflammatory, antiviral activities. Okay, so we're finding out more information on this, and it's exciting news as to what's going on next. So a great FYI is that our concentrated fruits and vegetables, because it has 10 servings, has a great dose of quercetin in there, and the way Neutralite processes everything, it maintains the integrity of that quercetin. Next. I'm very excited about this product, Go Shield, all right? Awesome product, it has a lot of the things that we just talked about, vitamin C, zinc, elderberry, and everything like that. The only downside of this product, you can only eat 2 of them, all right? And it tastes so good, you want to eat the whole bottle, but you can only eat 2. But awesome product, hide it from your kids so they don't eat all of it. Next. Let me wrap up with a couple of thoughts here. All right, a group of researchers decided to study people who were the age of the 100 and were healthy and had a healthy immune system, okay? And they said, okay, what makes these people over the age of the 100 live long, healthy, and have healthy immune system? They said that is the food that they eat, the type of exercise that they have. And interestingly, it was none of that. It was actually this concept called Ikigai. Okay, next. So what is Ikigai? Ikigai is a Japanese concept of a reason for being. And what they said is this: the people who had found something that they were good at, that they loved to do, that the world needed, and that they can get paid for, if you meet all those 4 criteria, you have found your Ikigai. And if you found your Ikigai, it's linked with longevity. And isn't it amazing that all these leaders that they just spoke and all these movers and shakers that we just heard from, okay, to some level have found their Ikigai, okay? And I challenge all of you that during this time, when you're saving time from commuting and all that, dig deeper in this and see if you can find your Ikigai. Let's cut to main screen now. All right, guys, wrapping up here. Just last minute or so, okay. Glad to talk to all of you, all right. Hope you guys learned something, okay. And, you know, around 300,000 people have passed away through this pandemic, okay. More to come, you know, hopefully not that much more, okay. But, you know, people are saying that we are wishing for like a V-shaped recovery, right? Like we went down, we would come up. But a V-shaped recovery means we're going to go back to 2019. And I say we should not have a V-shaped recovery. We should not go back to normal. We need to have like a Nike-shaped recovery where we had a downturn, but our up spike, our comeback needs to be phenomenal, okay? So my hope and my prayer for all of you is that as you come out of this, the same person that walked into this lockdown should not be the same person that walks out. You need to come out with greater commitment, greater passion, greater compassion, greater tenacity, and let's make 2020 a phenomenal year. Okay, God bless Brit team. Thank you.